Peace. And happy now. Now is the vibe great, of course. Not going too far in the future. Not going too far in the past. Right now. Uh right now I want to speak on a few. I even say a few things, but one of many things that helps to, you know, keep the all the constant thoughts in the mind, and basically a method in essence to identify the ego. How because in most cases when I speak of the ego, I speak of it in the sense of like the mind, like that not only just the mind and the thoughts, but the mind and the thoughts in essence, which in most cases your mind and your thoughts try to separate you and try to disconnect you from your soul. But like when I speaking of ego, I'm speaking of it on that level, not ego as in being confident. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, you gotta have ego. Not that type of ego. It's like the type of ego that is under the illusion that nothing is connected. You know, matter of fact, the ego that, well, even though you might consciously say, I know everything. I know things are connected, but you but you're saying it, but it's more of a belief than actually knowing and feeling that connection of everything. You know what I'm saying? It's because that ego, the thoughts, is trying to separate you from, that wholeness. But basically speaking on too, how our thoughts keeps us away from the now. You know what I'm saying? In a lot of cases, you sitting down somewhere and you going over some stuff that happened as a little kid. Are you thinking about what happened yesterday or the day before that? You thinking about what so and so said. And you see how your thoughts, like everything, is way somewhere else. But then when you look at what you're doing in the moment, you might just be chilling in your house all peacefully. You know what I'm saying? Or you out at the park with the kids, or you out doing something, or indulging something, but lack thereof, you out somewhere, but you're in your thoughts. You know what I'm saying? And when you're thinking about these things, your subconscious is seeing them as happening again. So even though you're at the park, or let's say you're at the beach, supposed to be enjoying yourself, but if you're sitting there thinking about all kind of past, or my ex-boyfriend or my ex-girlfriend, they gonna get it. They don't know what they got coming to them, or they said this or they said that, or what I'm gonna do about that bill, man. And I gotta do this, like thoughts. Because when you look at the fact of the matter, you on the beach. You know what I'm saying? All that is in front of you is right there. You know what I'm saying? Like, but yet you're going into your thoughts and choosing to focus on things that's not even happening in the moment. You know what I'm saying? And the insanity of us going to our thoughts is just because of the habit, of it. It's a habit in its addiction in essence. We've been tricked into being in our thoughts so much, and we've been doing this so long. We addicted to it indirectly. Even though it takes us away from our spirit. It's just like a woman who's been being beat on by her husband for so long, in essence, where she not only become used to it, but indirectly she's addicted to it, and she likes that relationship. The same thing with us and having all those thoughts. That's why, when a lot of people speak about how hard it is to meditate and stuff, that's not your soul saying that. That's your ego saying that. You know what I'm saying? Your ego like, oh no, this is impossible. How could I? Because it's addicted to the thoughts. Just like a crackhead feeling like it's impossible to quit crack. If you feel like it's impossible to meditate, just know that that means that even stronger that you should sit down and go meditate, because that means your ego speaking right there and trying to scare you and keep you away from sitting down and taking care of what you got to take care of. But again, if you find yourself, in your thoughts, you're going to be going through some kid trauma or something you did yesterday. Matter of fact, daydreaming about the future. And it's the thing, it's all right to deal with the future and the past as a reference. You know what I'm saying? If I reference something I did as a little kid and then come back to my now, or I visualize for a second having my Benz van in my house on Venice, but then I get back to being in the mall. You know what I'm saying? Ain't nothing wrong with that. But it's when I'm sitting down and just constantly like trying to be in the future, or constantly trying to be in my past. That's directly and indirectly telling the universe I don't love my now. I'd rather be somewhere else than be where I'm at right now. You know, and again, it's also from the habit of being in your thoughts. So not only you got a problem with where you're at now, but just the habit of being in your thoughts all the time. You know. Now one of the things I'm getting into, as far as like one of the methods of like being able to slow down those thoughts, you know, is becoming the observer. You know, to observe your thoughts. Now, of course, this becomes easier once you meditate more, but just in the sense of what it is, you know, basically watching your thoughts. So it's like where you sit back and I have a thought. So say for instance, all of a sudden a thought pop up, ooh, her butt look big. Let's just say, you know what I'm saying? Then as that thought pop up, it's about just letting it pop up, not playing off of it. And also though, most importantly, like having a thought pop up and not judging that thought. You know, not being like, oh man, that's a bad thought. Yeah. Because then you're creating more good and evil and more of a separation. So, you know, basically, matter of fact, shout out to Eckhart Tolle for wording it in this manner. But basically, you know, you don't want to judge your thoughts, and say for instance, if you do go to judging your thoughts, then it's kind of like the ego backdooring and sneakily getting back in there. You know what I'm saying? And causing, because say for instance, you could be on a spiritual place, like thinking you're coming from a spiritual place, like, so say for instance you have a thought, you'd be like, oh man, that's not spiritual, that wasn't a spiritual thought. You know, even though you think in that moment like you're being spiritual, like, oh, you know, like I'm just monitoring the kind of spiritual thoughts I have, you're really not. The ego done came through the back door and then found another type of way for you to be judgmental about something, and it then just disguise itself into your spiritual self. That's where the ego gets tricky. That's why you need to know the basis of what the ego is and how it operates. Because if you know that the ego operates off of judgment, then it don't matter what it is, even if it's something spiritual. If you judging, so say for instance, like you judging a meat eater, or you judging somebody that don't meditate, they not no real light being, or they ain't, you know, they ain't doing this, they ain't really doing the real spiritual work. You know, like regardless if it's coming from a spiritual place, you still being judgmental, and you still, you know, being a part of that part of the ego that causes a lower vibration. Because that's the thing too, it's not just hey, let's just be nice and get away from my ego, because it's not about being nice either, you know. But like when you view things as that separate, you know, you kind of, your vibration lowers, because you then become disconnected from the fact of knowing that you're connected to the whole. So the more you fall into the illusion of being, you know, in your mind and being separate from things, the more and more your vibration you know, drop to a lower place, and the more you kind of fall victim to being in the illusion of the matrix, in essence. You know, so again, it's listening to those thoughts without judgment. You know what I'm saying? So as a thought pop up, you know, it's being aware, and not, you know, not saying the thought good or bad, and not adding to the thought either. You know, it's just letting it pop up, you know, and letting it subside. And it's not to say that you shouldn't be thinking either, but your brain and your thoughts is a tool, and you should be using your thoughts and not your thoughts using you. You know, like what's going on now is everybody, in most cases, a lot of people, thoughts is running them. You know, like the thinking about the past, and, you know, all these different little things. Your thoughts is running your situation. Like, reason why you're stressed out is because your thoughts. So your thoughts is running you. You know what I'm saying? Compared to you using your thoughts in the manner that's beneficial. You know, like again, like visualizing, you know, something that you want to manifest, you know, where you you're using your thoughts to your advantage, you know. And when you're doing, even with the visualization though too, like you visualizing, it's not like on a visualization like I want to be here in this visualization instead of being my now, you know, because that's the difference too. Like you could visualize the future without throwing off the now. It all depends on your intent as well, in essence, you know. Like you visualizing, and at the same time though you loving the moment you're in. Like you just took a little quick break to visualize, you know, then cool. But if you visualizing because you're trying to get away from the moment, you know, then that's that ego sneakily, you know, being present and trying, or should I say, being visible, or being there and taking you away from the present. You know? But yeah, that's the whole vibe. It's just basically, you know, not judging your thoughts. Like that's one of the ways of, you know, staying in that alignment with your inner source, staying out of that you know, that egoic mind in essence. Because all that us being taught to being like multitasking with the mind and being all in our mind, like nah, that if anything, somebody indirectly created that literature to lock you more into the construct of you know. That's why, matter of fact, like that quote, I think, therefore I am. Like, you know, that's one of the most wrong, you know, things. And you see, just to dip into American culture and Western civilization and the stuff they promote. They promote the opposite of what our soul should be embracing. You know what I'm saying? Like here it is, somebody calling themselves intellectual, and you know, I think, therefore I am is such a beautiful quote. I'll elaborate on it. You know what I'm saying? Like they thinking they smart because they elaborating on some shit that actually makes them, you know, for lack of a better word, dumb, but not on no judgment level, but you know, just on that vibe of, you know, promoting being in the thoughts and trying to make that seem like that's something that's smart, and it's really not. You know, it's really not. So again, if you find yourself all thinking about some past situation, like uh, what I could have done in the past or what I should have did, and or thinking about a certain situation, or you know, you daydreaming too long about the future. You know, you're just all the way in the, you know, in a manner where you're not really, you know, caring about the now. Then, you know, you're taking yourself away from the now by being, you know, in, again, too far in the future or too far in the past. You know, not being in the moment, but just definitely one of the methods again of, you know, helping, because the more you become aware, because the mind and your egoic mind is just like it's almost just like a little kid in essence, like catching a little kid with his hand in the cookie jar. The more you observing the sneakiness of your ego, the more it's gonna kind of fall back on some shit like, oh no, not my little trickery getting noticed. Like it doesn't really come out fully until it's able to hide behind things. Like if it can't really hide, then, you know, again, it's shining the light just like you shine the light on your shadow. It's just awareness. Like be aware of your thoughts, you know, like observe your thoughts. Like that person's shoes kind of ugly. Like, all right, is that a thought from higher self or, you know, ego? And I'm not gonna judge this thought. I'm just observing, you know. And as you observe, less of those type of thoughts are gonna pop up, because again, the ego sees what's up. The ego like, all right, nah, because it knows that it could be snuffed out completely if it continues to just keep throwing those little zingers out. So it's like, all right, nah, to survive, I gotta fall back. You know what I'm saying? Like the ego won't come out in essence on that level unless it finds again a sneaky way to get up in there. Like, say for instance, a sneaky way of being in your spirituality, so it'll find a way to to get into your spiritual practice. Well, here it is, you think you're being spiritual, but you're really being egotistical. Like, again, like, say for instance, pointing out people who's oh, that person's a fraud, that person is, this and that, they not real light being in, it's like, here it is, now you kind of being judgmental and being in that separatist mode. Of course we want to enlighten people to the reality of what true spirituality is, but it's not about being judgmental about somebody else's spiritual path or lack thereof. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't help the masses by continuously pointing out how bad a president Donald Trump is. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't, that's the ego. So here it is, you think you're being spiritual, think you're doing something, advancing your consciousness, like, yeah, I'm woke. Look at how Donald Trump oppressing us, and I'm woke. You know what I'm saying? But it's like, nah, that's your ego. You know what I'm saying? Falling under the illusion of, being judgmental and creating more, more of a thought process and more of you getting entrapped in your thoughts instead of connecting to, your being, and again, connecting to your inner source first and foremost, and then using your thoughts and your mind as a tool. You know what I'm saying? Not the other way around. Not your thoughts and your mind using you as a tool, but you using your mind as a tool. That's where it's about. But that's basically it. Just get to a place of remembering to observe the thoughts. Not letting and again, because also the ego finds our identity through the past. Because say for instance, when we growing spiritually, we doing different things. So as I'm growing spiritually, I'm not drinking 40 ounces no more. As I'm growing spiritually, I'm not snorting coke no more. What the ego will try to do is reminisce about the days when I was drinking alcohol and snort coke. They'll try. And again, these points is cool to reference and stuff like that when you're just referencing on some in and out. And even then, you gotta watch yourself. But like that's that my old, and more so coming from that place of the old me, that old lower vibrational, self is trying to hold on and stop the growth. So it's trying to bring back that identity of the old self by reminiscing on the past of these old things that the old Carl Ray used to do, and it's trying to bring back that identity to hinder you from from advancing forward. I always bring up the example of Al Bundy. If y'all familiar with Married with Children, love and the marriage. That's a classic. But anyway, how Al Bundy always would bring up his 4 touchdowns in one game, or however many touchdowns, but his little game in high school where he scored all these touchdowns and stuff like that. And he was always bringing up this story, the glory days of the past. Well, if you notice Al Bundy's life, he kind of stayed working at the same little shoe shop, complaining about his wife, but still with, like still in that life, and reason being, by continuously bringing up that old story about how he did that in high school, that's bringing some type of satisfaction. So he's not going to look to grow more because he's satisfied at continuously bringing up that old story about the touchdowns at Polk High. That's his identity. He identifies with, that high school memory. And you see thoughts. A high school memory is a thought. He identifies with that thought. So therefore, that's where he stays at. And, he don't grow into having more or what he, the things that he would want more in life. He want to get out of that shoe job and this and that, but he doing the things that keeps him in it. You know what I'm saying? So it is what it is. But yeah, definitely just get into a place. Again, meditation. I got a couple of videos on meditation. But observing the thoughts. The thought pop up. Don't be judgmental towards it. The thought is not good or bad. It's just a thought. It's just, it is. You know what I'm saying? Don't feel like it's good or bad. Just observe it. by continuously observing your thoughts, by observe not just observing your thoughts in a non-judgmental manner. By continuously doing that, you're gonna continuously, the egoic mind is gonna lose momentum because it's constantly being pointed out. So when you become habitual about this, when this, instead of thinking all the time, when it becomes a habit to be the observer of your thoughts and be the non-judgmental observer of your thoughts, when that becomes a habit, then you fall into a place where your mind will be more quiet, and you'll be using your mind and using your thoughts instead of your thoughts and mind using you. You know what I'm saying? But that's basically it for this little part. Again, I always remind people the power of now. Definitely go get that book and check it out. Definitely life changing. Glasses making a part above my ear itch. Peace. Happy now, of course. Not going too far in the future. Not going too far in the past. Right now.